In a recent interview with The Verge, the Atlantic CEO Thompson confirmed that OpenAI is moving forward with plans to launch a search product and that the content from The Atlantic will be included. This highlights the potential significance of ChatGPT's search capabilities, suggesting it could become a pivotal way for people to navigate the internet. This move aligns with OpenAI CEO Sam Altman's vision to disrupt traditional search using large language models like GPT 4.0. While initial capabilities are limited, ChatGPT's traffic has surged, indicating growing interest. So I guess the question here, now that we see the potential for GPT and OpenAI to get involved into the search game, do you think that someone could actually dethrone Google when it comes to search?
Sure. Yeah, I think this is a really interesting subject. When a couple of years ago, when ChatGPT first came out, obviously you and I were sitting in the office. The first time either of us had used it, we were just kind of sitting in the office almost trying to trip it up, I guess.
We were basically screwing with it, is what we were doing.
And at that time, we kind of had a conversation saying, this is the end of search. If this becomes a search engine, it's all anyone's ever going to want to know. They ask the question and they get the answer they need. But having seen what's happened since, I'm not really so sure anymore. Obviously, Google has been introducing AI or sort of snippets at the top of the search results for quite a while now. It doesn't say anything in the article we read about how this would be monetized. And that makes me wonder, is this going to be, obviously OpenAI are going to want to monetize it somehow. Does this mean it's going to only be available for paying customers, people who are on the Pro plan or the Plus plan? If so, it's not going to change anything. People are still going to go to Google as their first base because most people aren't paying subscribers. If it's not that, but it's perhaps the people who want to be involved, like you say, the Atlantic did say that their information will be on there. What if someone doesn't want their information on there? Do they need the consent of the person whose information they're taking? If so, if you're using it as your search engine, you kind of have to go in understanding that not all the information is going to be there. It may give you an answer which is quite different to what you're looking for. If, for example, if it's something to do with medicine and not, md.web or .com or whatever, there's certain websites where you generally find that answer perhaps aren't included, things like that. So I'm intrigued to see how it progresses, but based on what we currently know, I don't see Google being dethroned at this stage.
Yeah, and you're right. Like if it's cherry picking information, not on purpose, like it's trying to create a bias, just because it's only got access to certain information, that can definitely sway the results one way or the other, and maybe not give people the best results necessarily. Right. I still think anyone is a long ways away from knocking off Google. Google's been doing it for so long. It's built up that trust. People recognize the name. They just know if I need to find something, this is a place that I'm going to go. Now,
exactly.
Yeah, I could see it, an OpenAI taking a chunk out of Google.
Sure.
But I don't know if all of a sudden the tables are going to turn or whatever. Yeah. You mentioned it, the AI that Google has rolled out. I think if you just went and asked them flat out, do you think you've done a good job? I think they would say no. I don't. Yeah. They haven't really captured what they want to do with AI, but you know what? I still think if the money was down and I had to pick one team to build me something to do with search, I'm still going with Google.
Absolutely.
10 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
So I think they'll eventually get more stuff right because they still have some of the brightest minds in the entire world working there. I still think they'll get it right and produce a search product from an AI standpoint that would kind of be up against anyone would be great. So
yeah. I feel, the more we talk about this didn't really occur to me at the start, but I feel like this is a kind of a stepping stone that's going to end up being unnecessary. We're going to go from people searching via the screen on their phone to the assistants, where you're just asking the assistant anything, regardless of whether it's on your phone, whether it's online, if it's Siri or Alexa or whatever, whichever one you use. I think there's just going to be, the end goal is going to be you ask that and it tells you something. And this on-screen search in the ChatGPT style. I mean, the GPT-4o is already doing this within the ChatGPT app. But yeah, rather than people using it like a search engine, they're just going to skip that step almost and get straight to the point where you're asking the assistant as if it was another person, and then that's going to tell you.
Yeah. And you don't necessarily know where they're sourcing it from. It's maybe giving you the best answer from a variety of sources.
Yeah.
And I mean, like you said, we're kind of there already. It's only going to get better. For me, a bigger question beyond is Google going to get dethroned is, as marketers and content creators and small businesses, what are you going to have to do content-wise, web-wise, to alter what you're doing to align with this new type of search? And we've talked about this on the podcast before.
Absolutely.
And I think it's going to be something we're going to end up talking about every couple months moving forward, because the idea of put content on a website, Google finds it, Google picks it up. There's a variety of factors at play, and that's how your content ranks. What's that going to look like in 3 years?
Absolutely.
And there's more voice at the table and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's going to be fascinating.
Any individual website going to look like in 3 years? That's
yeah. So I don't know. But going back to the original question, I think you and I both agree Google is going to remain king, but there are going to be more alternatives, like beyond Ask Jeeves. Like, still waiting for Jeeves to come back. But
I think part of what it shows how strong Google's position is in this is that Google is now a verb. It's not just the name of the company; it's the verb. Go Google it, right? So it's kind of like, what happens if we stop using Google to Google things? Do we still call it Googling things? I think people would, which is kind of
just like Kleenex and Kraft Dinner,
absolutely right,
and Coke, like the same idea.
Indeed.